Welcome to the Aaron Cohen Show. Tonight's episode proudly sponsored by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. Runs below the waistband. This thing is never going to fall off you. And zero digging into your gut. And a lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Go to cherryscounterterror.com and grab yourself one of these bad boys. It's an absolute beast. Let's get into it.
Qatar reportedly agreeing to oust Hamas from its country.
U.S. officials telling ABC News Qatar also has taken steps to expel Hamas from Doha at their request.
What happens if Mossad targets Hamas leadership in Turkey, a NATO country, and gets caught? Hamas leadership has fled Qatar under very intense international pressure, and they're now regrouping in Turkey, where they found protection under President Erdogan's government. Turkey, a NATO member, offers Hamas more than just a new base. This is giving them diplomatic cover. There's a lot of diplomatic crossover in the spy world. But Mossad doesn't care where you run or who protects you. Their mission is clear. Neutralize Hamas's leadership wherever they are.
אני הנחיתי כבר את המוסד לפעול נגד ראשי החמאס באשר הם.
So tonight I'll break down why Hamas's move to Turkey raises the stakes for Israel, how Mossad can operate in a NATO country, and what's at risk if an operation goes sideways. Here we go. Hamas's relocation to Turkey is a pretty significant shift. Forced out of Qatar, country that provided them with financial and political support for years, they're now under Erdogan's wing. Erdogan has called Hamas freedom fighters. Of course he would. And has provided them with political legitimacy and protection. But here's the catch. Turkey isn't just any country. It's a member of NATO with diplomatic ties to the West. And that changes the equation. A Mossad operation in Turkey isn't just about neutralizing Hamas. It risks creating a geopolitical crisis that could involve NATO, the United States, and all of those European countries who are part of NATO. Now let's take a closer look at NATO and why operating in a NATO country like Turkey poses very unique risks to Israel's intelligence community. NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a military alliance of 31 countries, including the United States and Turkey. And while NATO's primary purpose is collective defense, meaning an attack on one member is considered an attack on all under what's called Article 5, there are other layers of cooperation and trust that make it difficult for any country to operate covertly within NATO borders without repercussions if they screw up. For Israel, a Mossad operation in Turkey would technically breach the principle of sovereignty that NATO members are expected to uphold with each other. Even though Article 5 wouldn't apply in this case, since Turkey wouldn't classify a Mossad operation as an attack, there are still very serious political and diplomatic consequences. A breach of NATO norms, such as conducting unauthorized operations on a member state's soil, could lead to a couple of different things. One, it could lead to diplomatic fallout with NATO allies, NATO countries, especially those in Europe. They could view this as a violation of international trust and may push for sanctions or formal condemnation against Israel. This risks isolating Israel diplomatically at a time when international support is really critical. There's a lot of people not happy with Israel's defending itself. Two, this could complicate relations with the United States. And even though Donald Trump's a big fan of Israel and Israel's closest ally, Israel would face some additional pressure to publicly condemn Israel's actions or mediate the fallout. And for Washington, it creates a balancing act between maintaining its strategic alliance with Israel and managing NATO cohesion. So it's going to be interesting to see how Donald Trump even manages NATO. I don't know if he's a huge fan, but still, these rules are very real. This also damages counterterror cooperation, and Israel and NATO often share intelligence and work together for certain counter-terrorist efforts. And a breach like this could lead to reduced cooperation, weakening Israel's access to additional resources in Europe, especially now with all that increased anti-Semitism like we saw in Amsterdam. Then we could also see a potential retaliation from Turkey, and Turkey could leverage NATO's structure to escalate the issue diplomatically. I wouldn't put Erdogan past it, framing Turkey as the victim and Israel as the aggressor. We've seen that narrative before, further isolating the Jewish state in the region. NATO operates on mutual trust, and while Turkey's stance on Hamas may already create friction within the alliance, a Mossad operation on Turkish soil could really fracture the relationship, not just between Israel and Turkey, but this could seriously damage Israel and NATO as a whole. So the stakes here, I can't stress enough, they're high. Any operation must be calculated, precise, and most importantly, deniable. Because if Mossad is exposed, the geopolitical fallout could outweigh the immediate operational success. Guys, I just want to take a second. If you're a fan of my work and you're a fan of the Aaron Cohen Show, do me a favor, help support the show by grabbing a mini sponsorship package. Hit the link below in the description of this video. They start at about $25. We're independently produced, helps keep the lights on, and allows you to become a Season 1 sponsor. Appreciate you guys. Let's get back into it. Hamas's move to Turkey changes everything. They've positioned themselves under the protection of a NATO country, complicating Israel's ability to respond. But let me be really clear. Shani ba'u itchem, like we say in Hebrew. Mossad isn't just Israel's sword. It's Israel's shield. And with new partnerships emerging across the Middle East, including the Abraham Accord allies like the UAE and Bahrain, Israel has more regional support than ever before. And these alliances strengthen Israel's position, and Mossad, which is at the center of ensuring these partnerships are protected from threats like Hamas. The question isn't if Mossad will act, it's how far they're willing to go. And if I know Mossad, it's a chapter Hamas won't survive. For Mossad, זה מרגיש כמו אפשריות, feels more like an opportunity. Now, let's be clear, Hamas isn't running to safety. They're running into a trap. And Mossad, they've been here before. They've hunted enemies in far more challenging environments than Turkey, and they've done it with precision and devastating lethal effectiveness. Mossad's track record speaks for itself. After the Munich Olympics massacre in 1972, Mossad tracked down every single terrorist responsible, eliminating them one by one across Europe and in the Middle East. In 2010, they infiltrated Dubai, a hotel, took out Mahmoud al-Mabou, a senior Hamas figure responsible for smuggling weapons.
Tape worthy of a cinematic thriller, fake passports, elaborate disguises, and a very real assassination of a top commander of the Palestinian organization Hamas.
The Hamas commander was dead in 10 minutes, suffocated with a pillow, and the hit team flew to destinations in Europe within hours.
And more recently, Mossad disrupted Iran's nuclear program by assassinating a key scientist, sabotaging the facilities, and all without leaving a trace and with complete deniability.
In the Middle East, Iran's leaders are seething over the assassination of the country's top nuclear scientist.
Alleged mastermind of Iran's nuclear weapons program, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, was buried with full military honors today. He was ambushed with a remote-controlled machine gun mounted on a car that later blew up, according to Iranian media reports. Iran's president blamed Israel for the killing on Saturday.
This is what Hamas is up against. They've stepped into a game Mossad has been dominating for decades, and they're about to face a very serious consequence. Now let's take a closer look at Hamas's leadership shakeup. After the assassination of its top leaders, Ismail Haniyeh, Yehia Sinwar, Hamas has restructured its leadership at the top. Instead of appointing a single leader, they've created a 5-member committee based in Doha. And this new committee includes some familiar names: Khalid Mashal, the former head of Hamas's so-called political bureau. I still think it's amazing that terror organizations believe that they have the right to even have something called a political bureau. Khalil al-Haya, a senior Hamas official. Zair Jaberin, who manages Hamas's finance. Mohammed Ismail Darwish, the chairman of their consultative council is what they call him. And Nazir al-Wadallah, a veteran leader within the organization. And while this change might seem like a shift in strategy, let me say this. Hamas's policies in Gaza have remained unchanged. They're still focused on terrorizing civilians, its own civilians, and doing whatever they can to destabilize any peace process with Israel. This leads Hamas looking to Turkey as their next stronghold. So while this leadership restructuring might look like progress, I can tell you this is just another layer of the same dangerous organization. And for Mossad, it's not about who's in charge. It's about who's responsible. And here's how Mossad will likely hunt down Hamas leaders in Turkey. Hey, before I go deeper, I just want to take a moment to thank you guys watching. And I want to take a moment to ask you, if you're a fan of the Aaron Cohen Show and you're a fan of my work on the news, do me a favor, help support the show. Hit the link in my description of this video and grab yourself a mini sponsorship package. They start at about $25. We're an independently produced show, and the focus is always going to be combating that anti-Israel misinformation garbage. So if you're a fan of my work and you want to get involved as a Season 1 sponsor, grab yourself a mini sponsorship kit. It'll help keep the lights on in the studio and will help keep combating that anti-Israel message. Appreciate you guys. Let's get back into it. First, I want to talk about human intelligence, or what's known as humans. And Mossad's bread and butter. This is what they do best, and that's embedding agents deep in enemy territory. And Turkey, no exception. I can tell you right now, operatives will pose as business people, tourists, diplomats, blending seamlessly into those Turkish cities like Istanbul and Ankara. And these agents, whether Israeli or whether flipped assets, will track Hamas leaders' movements. They're going to map out their networks, and they're going to continue to identify every single vulnerability. Recruiting informants will also play a key role in this, like I just said. Mossad excels at flipping insiders. And whether they're low-level operatives, delusioned members, or individuals with access to critical information, nobody targets assets better than Mossad. But it's not just about boots on the ground. This is also going to be a digital battlefield, and cyber operations will be critical. The IDF's 8200 unit is one of the most advanced cyber intelligence warfare units in the world. And they're going to hack encrypted communications, monitor financial transactions, track Hamas's leaders' digital footprints. That's the key here, is building that mosaic. And every phone call, every email, every swipe of a credit card leaves a trail. And Mossad will be watching. They're also going to use cyber tools for sabotage. Imagine Hamas planning an operation only to find that their communication systems mysteriously disabled or their finances getting frozen. Mossad can disrupt their logistics without ever stepping foot inside their safe houses in Turkey. This one's going to be a beast. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be even bolder, just like we saw with that pager operation, because the bigger it is, the more it signals and the more fear it creates, and nobody creates that fear better than Mossad. I want to thank you guys for watching this episode. Again, if you believe in the show, hit the link up below in the description to support. Grab yourself a mini sponsorship package. It all helps. Once again, this episode of the Aaron Cohen Show, sponsored by the Cherry's Deep Concealment Holster. Same holster I trained Keanu on for the John Wick franchise. Thing runs below the waistband. Never going to fall off you. It's great if you have to de-escalate and go hands-on, and you don't want this thing coming out, especially falling off you. Go to cherriescounterterror.com and grab yourself one of these bad boys. Also, lightning fast draw with just a little bit of training. Go to cherriescounterterror.com. Finally carry with comfort while concealing properly. I'm Aaron Cohen. I want to thank you guys for watching. This is the Aaron Cohen Show, and I will catch you on the next one.